Good afternoon. How are you?
Hey, what's going on, man? How you doing? Good to be here, Charles.
Good.
What's up?
Good, man. Twist, thanks for coming on my the Q.A.C. team podcast here. And let's get started and tell our audience a little more about who you are and what you do.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here. Thanks for having me. So, my name is Twist Johnson. I'm a mental health specialist and I do mental health coaching. I have my own online business that I just recently launched about 3 months ago. It's going pretty well. It's still fairly new. I have some assistants and people helping out, and I'm right now launching my YouTube channel, which is going pretty good for me. But my main domain has been in Spotify. And now I'm going into the YouTube universe and I'm loving that. So I got a podcast and I also have like a channel that I do tutorials and I do seminars about mental health and what is mental health about. So I cover social work, cover counseling, cover therapy, cover mental health providers. Then I also break down the different mental health stresses, such as stress, trauma, anxiety. I also do skills training. So I do everything that's geared towards channeling into the mental health situations.
Great. Good job. So I've been
Hmm.
checking out your show a little bit, listening to some of your podcasts. Good stuff. Can't wait to
Yeah,
listen to more. You
thank
know,
you.
uh, time gets by us a little bit. We get so busy.
Right,
you
right.
know, you know how time goes, man. It's insane.
Nah, yeah, thank you. Appreciate that.
Yeah. So tell the audience a little bit about why did you decide to be a business owner? This is interesting. I love this.
Yeah, sorry, I'm still nursing the cold coming down.
Oh man. Sorry
That's
about
yeah,
that.
this is tea, but let's get into it. So on my career path, it's always been in the helping profession. I started out as a case manager at an early age, and back then you would be grandfathered in by qualifications,
Mhm.
just skill sets. Now, as time goes on, the the modern day, you actually need certifications and licensures to perform the and
Mhm.
be in practice inside of the mental health field, social services profession. So, I started out as an addiction counselor. And for everyone that's familiar with that, you do addiction and recovery. I was a case manager. Then I started to gear towards more of like the behavior health. So
Oh, okay.
I became a person that was geared inside of practicing the behavior science. And my first title was mental health counselor. What I realized then is that just in the helper profession itself, I love to see just like a success story.
Yeah.
And I love people. I come from the poverty spectrum where mental health is at a high need. I'm from New York City. The homeless population is, I can't stress how often people, fall down to that spectrum. Um, just the living arrangements, living conditions, cost of living. I currently live in another state, but that's usually, that's my starting grounds. That's my neighborhood. I
Yeah.
got into it because I'm a helping person. I have a passion. I have compassion for helping others. So I decided that, that's the career path that I wanted to pursue.
Sure.
So I got a bachelor's degree in human services, but human services is so broad that I had to have it more direct, which
Gotcha.
is why I returned back to school for my master's of social work.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense, right? You want to hone in on niche market. You want to be specific on what you want to accomplish and who you want to help, right?
Right. Every
Yeah.
area has its own territories, and
Yeah.
when you first starting out, you're not sure. You're just thinking, okay, I want to help people, and this is what I want to do. It starts off with just firsthand experience. It starts in your backyard, whether it's you or someone that you care for suffering. That's what creates the need. But
Mhm.
what creates the person that's going to be practicing it is the education and the skill sets.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you stole my thunder on my third question. I was going to ask you, why did you choose your industry? You already went into it. That's great.
Oh
I
yeah,
like
I'm
when my
getting to it.
guests
Come on.
fly too, man.
Hmm.
I love
Right.
it.
I'm sorry.
No,
Didn't mean
that's
that.
good, man. I love it. I talk a lot about that, because my guests kind of flow and they just kind of go with what I do. And I really love that. It's like it's just a conversation, not really a interview, and
Right.
I love
Absolutely.
that people are comfortable.
I'm
I
very
love it.
comfortable. I've been watching you, so I feel like I've been up here already. So it's cool.
Appreciate that, man. I really
Yeah,
appreciate that. This
it's
is
all
awesome,
good.
man. Yeah.
Hmm.
So, we talked about, who you are, what you do, why you do what you do. Let's talk a little bit about some of the challenges that you are facing while you're doing this, getting this going. I know, like you said, you had to go back to school. That's a whole other challenge because I'm sure you're doing other things. That's not your only thing on your plate. So give us a little insight on some of the challenges.
Some of the challenges that I am actually, it's an ongoing conversation, but I'm learning how to break it down. I broke it down on my channel as well. Is the who's is who. When I say who is who, if you're not inside of the industry of the helping profession, you would think that counselors, therapists, social workers are one and the same, but they actually have different functions. They do different things. A lot of people would look at it as, okay, it's just title pushing, but it's actually not. The licensors and the educations do it different. This is not to say that I don't, and I want to just point that out there. I don't feel like there's a divide. The whole philosophy behind social work, therapists, and counselors in itself is to help the vulnerable population, to be an advocate. Everyone just advocates in different ways. So you will hear a lot of social workers say, I'm not a therapist, I'm a social worker. You hear therapists say, I'm not a counselor, I'm a therapist. But in some shape or form, we all wrapped into the same. We have a lot of similarities, and it is counseling, it is therapy. It's just how you perform your skills and how you go about the practice. Um, those are the difficulties that I usually find tough because depending on what industry you work in departments, if you will, if you want to go that way, let's just say you work in a school setting or you
Mhm.
work in a medical setting, the the titles are kind of the same. You'll have three different advisories. You'll have a mental health counselor, you'll have a social worker, and you'll have a therapist. And it seems that it'll be blurred lines as far as the advocacy because everyone's kind of advocating in the same area.
Yeah, yeah.
So it can be as like, well, what is too much of advisory? What
Mhm.
is the over stress of services?
Yeah.
And sometimes that could cause friction and conflict, not just for the client, but for the providers.
Yeah, I was going to mention that, right? Because, you know, one person might not need a therapist, one person might need a psychologist, psychiatrist, and identifying that can be a huge challenge, right? How do you go
Right.
about identifying who should talk to someone?
Um, it's all about the need. Let's just give a basic example. Let's just say that you are experiencing stress, right? Now, if you're experiencing stress, that would be more a therapist domain, but a psychiatrist, social worker, or a counselor can actually provide services too. It all depends on what stress you are looking for. Like, what is the stress from? Is it
Yeah.
from not having a job? Is it because you're having struggles in your relationship? Is it because you're a new parent? So
Hmm.
it all depends on what stress area you were looking to receive services for.
Yeah.
And that's how you could go about choosing the right provider for you.
Yeah, it makes sense. I haven't had the chance to dive too much into a lot of therapy through my life. I've been
Hmm.
pretty fortunate to not really need it. As we'll probably get into when you interview me.
Okay, yeah,
um,
sure.
you know,
I'm definitely gonna take it there.
I went through a bad marriage, and it put me in a really low, dark place.
Hmm.
And as I went to talk to a therapist, I really realized that they weren't helping me.
Hmm.
They weren't really listening to me. They weren't able to open me up like a box and unbox me and
Hmm.
really pull the parts out and digest what's happening. And it made me kind of sour, and I kind of never went back, and I just kind of dealt with it on my own for quite some time
Hmm.
until, here we are, 12 years later, and I'm good. I'm in a good
Right.
place,
I mean, I definitely understand. I mean,
Yeah.
just that experience alone, I too, I haven't been married, but I've done therapy. I had received a counselor. Excuse me. The suggestion that I can say is that you got to try it at least once, twice or three times. You might not get it on the first shot.
Yeah.
This is because personalities, like when you're searching and shopping for a provider, you will feel like you I hear a lot of clients, I hear a lot of people that I talk to, that's what the usually the situation is that yeah, I tried therapists before and it seemed like they were going against me and they were more on my wife's side, or they they I thought I was getting help, but they actually are suggesting that we break up. I'm trying to figure out how to stay together. Also, it all depends on, like I said, it's personality and personality. If you have two strong personalities, then that might be detrimental to the situation. You want to find someone, especially when you looking for counseling, that fits your personality. You know, it's like looking for music on a radio station. You sometimes you're gonna have to keep turning and turning until you find that song. You might not get it right away. So that's the same thing as you want to look at that for like advisory when it comes to counseling, for
Yeah.
whether you're looking for relationship advice, whether you're looking for mental health counseling, or you're looking for someone to help you navigate through getting services. Personality comes with the practice. So I don't envy you for saying, hey, this is not for me. That's usually the case every time. That's usually the case most times when people try to go to therapy and it doesn't work. But if you were to do it again, I would have encouraged you to probably seek help a little bit more before you just gave up, because I'm sorry that that person gave you a sour experience, but there would have been someone out there that probably could have helped, but you still turned out great, right?
Yeah, and not to go, I don't want to go too much on, on me because this is
No,
your
do you
interview,
think?
but, but, but yeah, when you're in a dark place, a lot of things are happening at that time. You're not in your right frame of mind, so you don't know who to turn to. You don't know who to talk to.
Right.
And when you think you're turning to someone who is there to help you, you don't think they're helping you, so you kind of give up, right? And that's just the mentality of someone who is in need of help, who should have continued to maybe find somebody.
Mm-hmm.
But my life was too busy. I had too much turmoil. I kept going,
Right.
and I'm glad I turned out okay. I mean, some people would go against that, but hey, I think I'm okay.
Right. Right. And
You know?
the unfortunate part is the okay piece, because I can empathize with that. It might have took a little bit longer than it would have if you had some kind of coaching, some mentor or someone to help you channel through those traumas and help you navigate through like the stresses of experiencing divorce. Um going through what do we call it when we getting over a relationship, the healing process, the grievance process. Some people believe that there is a cap to how long you should grieve a relationship, and we're learning that that's not necessarily true. And we might be okay now, but there is the things to where like we're no emotional dumping or channeling sorry, channeling and transitioning traumas and triggers and issues from the previous relationship or marriage into the new one because we didn't work on it. So
Yeah.
you got to learn as you go, which is unfortunate because by the time you get right, by the time you get ready and you feel more healed, these it's probably like 4 or 5 relationships when it comes to dating that you probably damaged that could have been fulfilling, but you were actually healing while you were actually being active in those relationships. I don't know
Yeah,
if
it's
you
interesting
agree
that
with that.
it's interesting that you said that because, as I was going through my separation and my divorce, I've had several women say, "Oh, you're not ready yet. You're not ready yet." What do you mean I'm not ready yet? I'm ready. What are you talking about? And then as I look
Hmm.
back at those conversations, I
Hmm.
could clearly see I was not ready, you
No,
know? And it's great
no.
that you can self-assess that, right? And say, "Hey, look, man, I was not in the right frame of mind." You're going
Hmm.
through job stress, your breakup stress, your marriage, you got kids, and all that is on top of you.
Hmm.
And then you want to try to date somebody again? Nah, you gotta sit back and
No,
relax. You gotta wait. You gotta work it
nah.
out.
You're absolutely right. And relationships is like a core section when it comes to the helping profession. other than traumas and triggers and dealing with anxieties and depressions. Relationships. That's usually what people are mourning over, and this is why they seek therapy. Um,
Yeah.
and yes, what I just explained to you without us really knowing each other and just having like recent chemistry, we can empathize and we could bounce off that because we've been through relationships. And what the information that I was given is because that's just off experience. It's experience of um, knowing that I didn't go through the proper channels to heal, and I'm going into different relationships thinking I am ready. However, now the relationships that could have been fulfilled relationships are turned into lessons.
Yeah.
It
Yeah. And you know
sucks.
what's cool is to listen to you talk that last little sentence there.
Mhm.
You can tell you understand what you're doing because you mentioned empathy, not sympathy. And I think a lot of people don't know the difference between the two. There's
No, they
definitely
don't.
clearly a difference. And I think
It
that's
took me a
awesome.
little while to do it too. Right.
Yeah. You could tell that you knew what you were talking about because definitely you want empathy in this situation, not sympathy.
Right. And not just to touch a little bit on that, like, yes, I made that mistake so often in the beginning, especially, being a young adult and then becoming like an older adult. A lot of people get these ideas, post relationship or marriage that depending on who's the person that's healing or who's the person that's trying to give the shot again, that you can save them, that you
Yeah.
can change them.
Yeah.
And the reality of it is that like it's a challenge. As humans, normally we want to save, especially if you have a nurturing personality, a nurturing character. You're like, oh, this person been through a lot, and I
Yeah.
know that they're going through a divorce, but they have a great personality. I think we're compatible. You can see the red flags. You can see where the hesitations are coming from, where the triggers are, and you still want to try to save them,
Yeah.
but they're not ready. I mean, they have all great intentions, but from the healing that they didn't do is that it's going to channel towards you, and then eventually it does become overwhelming to the person
Yeah.
who thought that they were going to save you. Now they have to sacrifice you in
And that's
themselves.
a word we don't want to use at this time,
No,
isn't it? You don't want to
no, because you're like, why
sacrifice.
we got to break up? Man, hey, I tried.
Yeah,
I tried,
right.
but you can't
Yeah.
compete with heartbreak. You can't compete
No.
with trauma. You
Yeah.
only can support and help. That's the
Yeah, that is
problem.
true. Yep.
Hmm.
So let's see, you're new, you're just getting this thing a few months. So what are your expectations for you and your business in the next year or two? What are you hoping to
My expect
accomplish?
That's great. Because I've just been working at this. I've been doing this in society for a long time, and now I'm coming into social media. Social media has become the best thing for everyone. I used to frown upon it because I am an introvert.
Yeah.
So I don't like really put myself out there so much. I'm not shy, but I'm introverted. So that's a science within a science. What made me decide that I wanted to do my online business is because social media is so broad that you can actually connect with more people. You can utilize the internet to get the education and get the point across that you are trying. So I learned that online businesses seems to be more effective. I don't expect to change everyone, and I can't promise that you're going to get something out of it because every situation is different. But I can promise I will never stop trying. That's my motto, and I'm excited about what's going on. I'm still developing the websites and stuff, but currently I can give coaching, I could give services through Zoom, I could do it through FaceTime, I could do it through consultation calls. I utilize the YouTube channel to give the information. I make sure that I still incorporate myself, make sure I incorporate my stories. I still have interview styles. That's for the podcast side of it. So we're not just doing the traditional let me tell you about mental health. Let me tell you about social services. And then I'm breaking down the different domains in the human services umbrella. I'm still incorporating people from everyday life, like yourself, Charles, like myself. I'm talking to rappers. I'm talking to entrepreneurs. I'm talking to book authors. I'm talking to life coaches, relationship coaches, you name it. Everyone in some shape or form has some mental health situations.
Absolutely.
Experience.
That is the truth.
That is it. So I'm not just
Yeah.
talking to scholars of the game or the experts or the PhDs and the doctors with the books and
Yeah.
um who can tell you in depth like how to do behavioral science and anxieties and depressions and stress and addiction harm reductions. I'm not just talking to just the scholars or the students of the game when it comes to health profession. I'm talking to people in every day life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what a great segue. You're talking about the expectations for you, what you're trying to do, you're creating, you're doing
hmm
things. How do we contact you? How do we reach out to you? We want to get some help from you.
Yeah, so I have YouTube, I have social medias like TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, X, Threads, I have it all. And I'm learning how to navigate them all together. That's a job within itself while
The
still
whole
maintaining
job.
your 9 to 5. Yes.
Yes,
Um,
it is.
so just, I'll just give you some handles and I can provide you with some as well. Usually if you want to catch me fast, just you can email me at turkjohnson227@gmail.com, or you can hit my DM Instagram less underscore talk 2025, or twist Johnson underscore, that's TWISTJOHNSON underscore. You can find me in other social media platforms if you want to DM me there, but that's like the fastest ways that you can catch me
Yeah.
usually.
Awesome.
Or you can
Appreciate
just
that,
comment
man.
under my YouTubes and just be like, hey, I would like to get in touch with you. Um, like I said, right now while I'm being access to where I can comment and I can respond fast, catch me.
Yeah.
Don't wait till I get a little higher up and now you want to reach me and it's hard to comment back and get to you, because that's starting to happen now, and that's like a job in itself. Might need to hire some help or so.
It's a whole job, man. Absolutely, man. I
hmm
appreciate that. So I know,
Yes.
yeah, if you'll send me over, just shoot me back an email with what link you want me to put in the show notes for you here, and I'll add it in for
Oh
you so
yes,
you
I
can
got you.
get in
Not a
there.
problem.
Yeah. And I know we were talking shortly right before this podcast, and
Right.
I was working on something. I don't know if you I want to give these guys a little shout out here. If you notice this shirt I'm wearing, man,
Yeah, give it out.
it finally came in, man. So Matt over at queensboro.com, I ran into these guys on an ad I saw on Facebook. And I reached out, man, like, you guys, your website looks good. You guys look like you got some core values. You guys look cool. I want to reach out and see if you can help me with some shirts, man. And they came through, man. I'm telling you, the quality. I just opened them up. I just got them today. I just threw it on, and I thought you were interviewing me for the podcast, and I got them interviewing you. And I'm like, I ain't taking it off, man. I'm gonna leave it on. It's good. The quality is great, and I don't have an easy logo. And these
Right.
guys did a great job, man. And the guys over at queensboro.com, check them out if you need apparel. I'm telling you, these guys are good. They're on it, good quality, and it was a fast turnaround time. It wasn't even 7 days.
I love that.
So these guys are great, man. Check them out. Queensboro.com.
Queensboro.com.
Yeah, man. Thank you, sir.
I'm writing this down.
Yeah,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah. So let me ask you a question. Because we're both inside of the podcast and the content creator world. I was watching this podcast the other day and they were talking about the yesteryear, and that's the content creators of the past. That some of us are still adapting those old styles, and we're not getting into the new styles. And that's of we're monitoring the views and the likes. And when we don't get to see them, we get discouraged. Um, what is your take on that?
I don't look at views. I keep going.
Mm-hmm.
I look at what we're doing. We're collaborating.
Mm-hmm.
I post, I shout out as much as I can. I think I don't know if I shared too much. I'm working on a video series right now that's taking a lot of my time.
Mm-hmm.
I'm almost finished. I'm going to roll it out. And since I started this is only my second year, coming up to my second year on podcasting. And I've been very consistent, persistent. I do the same thing. I keep my structure the same. And I'm just growing by being who I am, interviewing the right guests and sharing, you know?
Amen.
Yeah, I'm not really hooked on that. How many people are viewing? I didn't get enough likes this week or comments. I just keep going. I interview quality people like you, put the stories out there, and people are looking. Trust me, people are
Mm-hmm.
looking. They're not. They might not be commenting and liking, but they're looking and they're watching. They're seeing us. So
Like
just let
yeah,
them know people are looking.
right. It's like like myself, like when we connected, I looked at your show. I seen a lot of people that you were interviewing. They don't know that I'm watching.
Yeah,
They just know someone's watching, but they don't know that
yeah,
it's me.
yeah,
And there's a chance, the world is huge, but it's also small. I could run into someone, or
yeah.
they can
But
they
let me
can.
tell you, I don't know how far back you went, but I started on Spotify. That was my start, voice
Yes,
only.
that's
That's how
usually
I
where we all
started.
started. I mean,
Yeah,
like in this
and
time.
yeah, and I'm loving this new format. I'm kind of glad that things changed the way they did. I love what
Mhm.
I'm doing now. I was afraid of video. I was afraid of putting myself out there,
Right,
but I love it. And if you go pretty far back, I've got some pretty big people that I've interviewed, and
right. Yes.
grateful. I'm
I
grateful
seen that.
that
Like, no,
I'm
I'm
grateful
sorry.
that
Go.
they shared with me, man. I'm so thankful that they said yes and interviewed them. You know,
Yes. I so you've got 2 years. I've got a few, but disconnecting. And what I say about that is that I jumped in so many different areas. I started on apps, then I did Zooms, and then once I discovered I can have like an actual community, I went to Spotify. Now I'm jumping into YouTube. I think that's my sweet spot. I'll be utilizing YouTube and Spotify still because that's usually where my core audience is from. That's why I started, so I'm not gonna abandon them. And I like to utilize Instagram because I've had Instagram a lot. Um, I wanted to just talk about it and to just share like my opinion on that conversation I was just having with you from what I read. It made me think, and now I'm doubling back and I'm going back to the drawing board where the understanding is social media is just like the eras, like it's an era that's changing and you got to go with the times. And I think a lot of us we fell in love with the ideas of likes. And then later it transitioned. I think Instagram changed the game for us where it became followers. The following, and this is where the terminology of following came from. Where Facebook it was likes and it was friends. And then now everyone on a global scale, we follow people. We listen to people. YouTube is becoming the new TV.
yes, it
So it's
is.
like a channel. You have the shorts, you have
Yes,
the
it
long
is.
versions if you want to keep in. So for
Yep.
anyone who catches this, if you are a content creator and you're just starting out, understand that you need to, for your mental and for your creativeness, um, just give yourself some grace. You're just starting out. You're not going to have the community. You're probably not going to have comments for a long term. It can be 90 days. It can be a year. It can be 2 years before you get your first comment or you get a troll comment. It can be a few months before you get the views that you were looking for. But the thing is that you don't want to focus on the views. You don't want to focus on the likes. You want to focus on giving content with but not content with intention. That's what you want to do. You want to give you want to build and you want to grow community. So
Got it.
you want to create content with purpose. That's what I want to
Yep.
say. Content with purpose.
Yep.
And like I was just telling Charles, like you don't know who's watching you. It's not about how many people is who's watching. You can walk down the street one day and you can meet someone who's from the community and they could be like, hey, I actually saw your show. I was actually watching this how to and you came across. I just wanted to let you know you do a great idea. I actually had one where I'm not gonna spoil you because I don't want to name drop, but there I did have my first big guest. I'm still editing and recording it in, but I had liked one of their pictures and I just sent like I wasn't looking for anything. It's the honest truth. I just sent the hey, like good job. Like you did good. And they was like, yeah, I like your show. Keep going, ha ha. And I was like, well, what
Great.
did you like about it? They got back to me within seconds. So that showed like the authenticity that they watched. So they explained to me the section that they were looking at. So I was like, wow, they're watching me.
Yeah.
So
That's
keep
one thing I
going.
tell people, right? Like I don't when people hit me up with, well, I'll work with you, but how many likes and views do you have? I'm
Yes,
honest with them, but I don't care about that because it's not about that because everybody starts somewhere,
yes,
right?
true.
We were all at the bottom, and we're all going to get where we need to go. I'm
Hmm.
not focused on how many people, how many views, how many likes and comments. I'm focused on what we're doing, creating good content to help people share that story, help promote you as we did for Queensboro, as we do
Mhm.
for you. And look, man, that's what this is about. It's
That's
about
all it's
small
about.
businesses helping small businesses. And that's what I drive, you
Right.
know?
That's one thing that I look down on. I'm not there yet, but one day I will, and I like to think that I'll still have the heart of hearts to help someone out there that's an underdog because I will remember and recognize how that was. But when you get to a certain bracket and you get to a certain popularity, like I was saying earlier when I was telling you guys like to get in with me, you're not going to be able to answer everyone. And it's also a science to where you're not going to be able to help everyone because you want to have that exclusiveness. If you're that accessible and people can access you, if I can access you and so could they, then I don't feel anything special with that.
Yep.
So it's just understand
Yeah.
that too. And then also if you're a content creator and I'm a content creator, what I'm quickly learning is we become busy. We're both doing the same thing, so you can't expect us both to have the time to click on your video and continue to watch it and stuff. So don't expect other content creators to, be watching your videos, but understand that they will support you. So I hope
Yeah.
someone out there gets something out of what I just was explaining. So if you're new, do you. Don't focus on anybody else. Don't focus on the likes. Don't focus on the views. Focus on creating with purpose and getting your niche out there and sticking to it and don't try to go with what's good for the month. You want to be in
That's
this
true, man.
longevity.
That's
Hmm.
true. And in the ending, the end up here and in the close out here, I think what you're doing is a great thing,
Thank you.
and continue what you're doing, man, and stay focused on it and keep driving forward. A lot of times when we start these businesses, 99% of small businesses fail in the first couple of years because they give up. Keep going, man. Twist, you got something
Oh
good.
yes, great.
Yeah, keep going, man, and let's keep in touch. Let's make this happen, and we'll just keep helping each other as we move forward.
Amen. And thank
Yeah.
you for having me, Charles. And I'm just gonna say quick, I'm not stopping.
Yeah.
I love
Yep.
consistency and like I'm a very highly motivated person. I don't stop until I have to stop. And I don't think
Yeah.
I have to.
I've been driven since 2008, man, and there's no stopping me,
Hmm.
man. This is my second time
Yeah.
around. I've got it right this time. I like what I'm doing, and we'll talk more about other things that I've worked
Oh
on
yeah,
that I
yeah, yeah.
think, I got some things that like we can share, and
Hmm.
I like where I'm at right now. I know I'm where I'm supposed to be, and I can tell from interviewing you, you are where you're supposed to be. You're doing what you're meant to do. Keep
Thank
going.
you.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Twist, thanks for coming on, man. Enjoyed this podcast, man. Great interview.
Thank you.
Yes,
And
sir.
thank you everyone for having me on the platform.
You got it, man. And Twist, we'll talk soon, man. Enjoy the rest of your night.
Oh yeah, peace. You already know.
You got it, buddy. Take care.
You've been listening to the Q.A.C. Team podcast with your host, Charles Luttrell. Connect with us on the web at QACteam.com, TikTok at Q.A.C. Team, Facebook and Instagram at QAC.team. Thanks for your support.